Hey guys, thanks for stopping by today to check out the video where today we're going to be installing Livewell lights. Now not only are they something that looks cool, but they're functional as well. I mean, you don't realize how big of a dark hole your Livewell is until you have a fish in there after dark. Holy cow, sometimes trying to get them out of there, it can be an absolute nightmare. Having Livewell lights will light up the water and show you where they are in there, make them a whole lot easier to grab. And like I said, they look cool too, so it's a win-win. I'm going to show you guys how you can install them yourself and save yourself a bunch of money. So real quickly guys, I'm going to be running over the tools we're going to need today, or the supplies. It's pretty straightforward, and some of these are going to depend on your application, what you need to. I have a bass boat, a fiberglass one. This is what I'm going to need to install it in mine. First off, you need a drill to drill the hole, some bits for it. I recommend the hole saws, they produce the best cut. Some wire pliers or needle nose, either will work. In my instance, I need something to be able to mark my live wells with on the back side because it's black, so just a Sharpie won't work, so I just have some painter's tape there as well. Tape measure, some wire. I would recommend getting both black and red. For this instance, I'm using 18 gauge, which should be enough for these two Livewell lights I'm going to hook up to it. I eventually will be hooking up some more stuff, but they're always going to be LED, so 18 gauge is enough. Some silicone, some wire connectors. I recommend these splicing kind. They're very easy to use, very user-friendly that way. And then in my instance too, I need to run a wire up to my console. So I'm going to be using this fiberglass rod. Whatever you have to get some wires up through the boat. Even a tree branch can work. I've done that in a pinch before once. It worked okay. So that's what we're going to need. We're going to get to the install here real quick. Alright guys, so first things first, you need to determine what the best location is to mount your Livewell light or lights, like I'm going to be doing in an instance, because my Livewell is divided. It is just a removable divider, but I want one on each side of it so I can see the fish on both sides if that be the case. It also just looks better because it gives a more even light. Now looking at my back deck here, I have a storage on both sides of my Livewell. So I don't want the lights to go through the sidewall of the Livewell and into the storage, because if it leaks, well, then you're leaking into your storage, getting all your dry stuff wet. The best bet on my boat is going to be right in the back storage, because this is the back side of the Livewell. You can see I do have some plumbing and wires here, but to keep those out of the way, that's not going to be a big deal in order to install this. Alright, so now you figured out where you want your light or lights at. Now you have to figure out how to get power to them. On my boat, I have an interior light switch up here at the dash. I have a circuit run dedicated just for my interior lights. I'm going to draw off of that. That's why I'm using those splice connectors. If you don't have a switch for it, you're going to have a wire running up to wherever you want to put your switch at, run back to the light, and then another wire to go from there to the battery. We'll go over that in just a little bit. But for mine, I'm just going to splice it off of the switch that I already have. Alright guys, so now that you have it figured out where the switch is going to go, if you already have that dedicated circuit, like I said, you just have to run one wire to it. If you're putting in a whole new circuit, you're going to want to double your wire before you run it up to your console or anywhere through, because you need a positive going to the switch, positive coming back from the switch to go to the light, because the switch is just going to cut off the connection in between that one wire. So if you just run one up and you're putting a new switch in, you're going to have to double it. Make sure you just go and double it right away so you're pushing two through at the same time. So what I've got here, I've got my fiberglass pole. Actually, I think it used to be off of a bike flag. So I have electrical tape my wire to it, and now I just have to run it up through here to get it up to the console. This can be kind of a tedious task, so make sure you take your time. If you run into any roadblocks pushing it through, just try to work around them. Just keep working with it and you will eventually get it. So running your wires is probably going to be the most time consuming and basically most pain that you're going to have while you're doing this project. It does take a little bit depending on your boat. Some of them can be pretty easy. Some of them are a little bit more challenging. Mine's one of those. Some boats, like on mine, has a little access panel over in the storage here to help you out. Make sure you look for that. I've already went ahead, I've ran the wire, I've connected it up to the switch. Basically, it's a little too crowded underneath my console to really show you what I did, but basically the wire that's going from the switch for my interior lights to the actual light itself That would be represented by this one. You use these little splice connectors, so that goes in the outside one that runs all the way through. And then in this one that's going to come back to my lights, that goes in this other little hole. And as you can see, there's that little metal splicing piece. You take your pliers, you crimp that down, and that actually cuts through the shield on both wires and connects with the wires that way, and then makes the bridge across it, and then you just close it up. So that's what I did underneath my console. My interior lights will still work, and then I have the new wire coming out, coming all the way back to where I'm going to mount my interior lights, my Livewell lights. Alright, so it's probably pretty evident to you guys now it's no longer the same day, and the reason for that is because I always test fit, or test drill a hole like in a scrap of wood or something like that, just to make sure that whatever I'm putting in is going to fit. It wasn't something that got published wrong in the instructions or anything like that. The instructions say to use a 3/4 inch drill bit, and I did, and it didn't fit. So I had to go try to track down the correct size, and by the time I did, it was already too late to finish up the video. So that's why you're seeing me in a change of clothes. And it also brings up a good point that when you're going to do something like this, it's not like you can just go down to a marine dealership and say, hey, I need a new Livewell if you screw up. So make sure you test out whatever you're going to drill beforehand. Like I said, just get a little scrap of plywood, something like that, just to know that what you're going to do is going to work. So I don't know how well you guys are going to be able to see down here, but I did get everything laid out. You can see my cross marks. I got one over here as well. So the only thing left right now is to drill those holes out. Make sure if you're drilling into fiberglass, put some tape down. It'll help it from chipping. You can do that on the back side as well since it's in a Livewell. So put it on both sides and it'll leave less little chips and fragments when the drill bit goes through. So now that our holes are drilled and everything, now is a good time to clean up our mess. My boat's fiberglass, so I get dust everywhere. You want to make sure you get any of that out of the Livewell as well as out of the hull of your boat. But like I said, now that this is about the most mess we're going to make, so now is a good time to clean it up. Alright, now that we got all the dust and stuff cleaned up, it's down to actually installing the light. We're almost done here. It shouldn't take too much longer. But looking at the light, there's a little rubber gasket on the inside and a plastic nut for the back side of it. So what we're going to do when we install these, they just get pushed through the holes. The nut goes on like it was. And usually I put a little dab of silicone right around the shaft of it before I tighten this all the way down. The gasket should prevent anything from leaking out, but just in case, just to make sure, it's not going to really hurt anything leaking into the bilge other than your boat's going to get a little bit more water in it. But honestly, I always just would rather be safe than sorry. So I'm going to put that little dab of silicone on there and tighten it down, and then we're going to be ready to finish up the wiring. Alright, so now that we have the nuts tightened up on there, the only thing left is to wire them up. Being that we have the power wire coming from the front, like I said, and we do have two lights, they are pretty close together. So what I'm actually going to do is put two of these into one of these splice connectors, simply because the wires are that small that they'll fit in there and it'll work just fine. Alright, so we haven't really talked about the ground at all up to this point as far as running wires. Simply because for my boat, from my console, I have a main ground coming back to the battery. So all I'm going to do is get the short piece of black wire, connect these to it, and then splice that into that wire that's going to the battery. If that wasn't how yours was set up, you would just run the black wire straight to your negative battery post, and that'll work out for you. So I'm going to get that connected up, and we'll be done with this install. Alright guys, installation is now complete. The only other thing you might want to do, take some zip ties and clean up all the wires, keep them together and everything. But other than that, with mine, I turn the power back on, flip the switch, and they're both on in there, so they're good to go. Ready to have some fish put in that live well. Hope this video helped you guys out. Like you can see, it doesn't take that long to install these lights. It's pretty simple and straightforward, and you're going to save yourself a lot of money by not taking it in to have it done. So thanks for stopping by today, guys. In the description, I'm going to put the Livewell lights that I put in. Obviously there's a ton of them on the market, but I'm just going to give you the what I have in there. So hopefully you like this video. Hope it helped you guys out and inspired you to do a little DIY work. Until next time, guys, God bless and good luck on the water.